What is up, you guys? We are back for another video, and today we are going to be talking about Shayna Hubers. This is the murder of Ryan Poston, and this case reminds me a lot of Jodi Arias, and you'll understand why when we get to some of the details, because this girl was one of those crazy exes that just took things really far, and it's unfortunate. So this happened in Highland Heights, Kentucky in 2012, October 12th, 2012 to be specific. The attack type was a murder by shooting. Victim was Ryan Carter Poston, age 29 years old. Perp was Shayna Michelle Hubers. The motive was jealousy and obsession. She was found guilty she had 2 trials. We'll get into all of that towards the end. Conviction was of murder, and she got a sentence of life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after 20 years. Previously 40 years in prison, so I'm assuming that she won an appeal of some sort, but we'll get to it. 20 years. Okay, I was wondering, I just looked up last night when I was researching this case. I looked up her updated prison photo, and I'm going to put it on here. Don't worry. Let me see if I can do it now. I think there's another one that's more updated than this. I don't know. But why does she look so happy? Maybe it's because she knows that she's only having to serve 20 years. I don't know. But to me, that's too happy. I was like, wow. And like, teeth look great. What's going on? Let's get into the murder of Ryan Poston. On October 12th, 2012, Ryan Carter Poston, an American attorney from Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, was shot to death by his on-again, off-again girlfriend, Shayna Hubers. After a trial in the Campbell County Circuit Court, Hubers was convicted of murder on April 23rd of 2015. She was sentenced to 40 years in the Kentucky Department of Corrections on August 14th, 2015, with parole eligibility after 20 years. On August 25th, 2016, Hubers' conviction was overturned on appeal when one of the jurors in her murder trial was revealed to be a convicted felon. Wow. Hubers was convicted of murder during her second trial on August 28th, 2018. On October 18, 2018, she was sentenced to life imprisonment with parole eligibility after 20 years. And the thing is, like, whenever us individuals who are not incarcerated or dealing with legal matters, whenever we hear with the possibility of parole, we automatically think, oh my God, like they're going to get out. Just because you have a possibility of parole, it's truly a possibility. Every 2 years, you can be denied for your remainder of your life. Just because there's possibility, of course, gives the inmate hope, but does not mean that it's going to happen. Let's get into a little bit of the background here. Ryan was born on December 30th of 1982 in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, to Lisa Carter and Jay Poston. He had 3 younger sisters, Allison, Catherine, and Elizabeth Carter. He attended Blessed Sacrament School in Fort Mitchell, the International School Manila in the Philippines, and the International School of Geneva in Switzerland during high school. He later attended Indiana University, where he triple majored in history, geography, and political science, then went to law school at Northern Kentucky University in Highland Heights. After completing his Juris Doctor degree, Poston began working as an attorney in Cincinnati, Ohio. So very educated man. Very educated. In 2011, Poston, who was 28 years old at the time, met 20-year-old Shayna Hubers. First red flag. She's 8 years younger. Oof. 20-year-old me was a bad person too. So he met her in 2011. He was 28. She was 20. He met her over Facebook, which is funny because that's how my husband and I met. Hubers was friends with Poston's step-cousin, Carissa Carlisle, which normally, you guys know, almost like everybody has Facebook. It will show like mutual friends. That's actually exactly how I found my husband. Yeah, we didn't end up like this, obviously. Hubers was friends with Poston's step-cousin, like I said. Poston and Hubers began dating soon after. At the time they began dating, Hubers was a psychology student at the University of Kentucky in Lexington, approximately 80 miles from Highland Heights. She graduated cum laude and was pursuing a master's degree in school counseling. She was very smart. I mean, graduating cum laude in psychology. It's crazy because this bitch is crazy. The couple reportedly had a volatile relationship and broke up several times over an 18-month period. On the night of his murder, Poston had a date with Audrey Bolt, winner of Miss Ohio, USA 2012. Okay, so I remember hearing about there being a Miss USA in here, and I couldn't remember if it was her or not. I don't know. On October 12, 2012, Hubers called 911 to report that she killed her boyfriend in Highland Heights condominium. Hubers shot Poston 6 times, but she continually maintained that the killing was in self-defense. That night during her interrogation, she alleged that her relationship with Poston had been abusive. Although she read her Miranda rights, Hubers voluntarily spoke to police. When explaining the details of their relationship, she described Poston as very vain and implied that by shooting him in the face, she gave him the nose job that he always wanted. She also made other statements such as, "I don't know if anyone will ever want to marry me if they know that I killed a boyfriend in self-defense." After being left alone in the interrogation room for several hours, Hubers began pacing, dancing around the room, and singing Amazing Grace. Who does that remind you of? It's almost the same thing that Jodi Arias did. Actually, I think Jodi Arias was singing, doing handstands, stretching, anything and everything. She also said aloud, "I did it. Yes, I did it. I can't believe I did that. And I'm so good at acting." Hubers was arrested for murder and was held on a $3 million bond. So let's go into her first trial. Hubers was indicted for Poston's murder on December 20th, 2012. So not long after. On January 16th, 2013, she entered a plea of not guilty to the murder charges. 2.5 years after the incident, Hubers' murder trial began on April 13th, 2015. She had remained in the Campbell County Jail since her arrest, unable to meet her $3 million bail. Prosecutors argued that the motive for the murder was that Poston wanted to permanently end the couple's relationship. Defense attorneys continued with their contention that the shooting was in self-defense and that Hubers was a victim of domestic abuse. As part of their case, the prosecution, led by Michelle Snodgrass, put on text message evidence that showed Hubers' obsession with Poston. Several witnesses, including Poston's family members, Audrey Bolt, which was the woman that he was supposed to go on a date with that night, and Hubers' former cellmate, testified for the prosecution. Carissa Carlisle, through whom Poston met Hubers, testified that her cousin was trying to avoid conflict with Hubers, and she read a series of text messages she had exchanged with Poston prior to his death, that was his cousin. Poston's stepfather, Peter Carter, testified that the day before his son's death, Poston confided in Carter about an upcoming date with Audrey Bolt and was afraid to tell Hubers about it. The date was for the following night on which Poston was killed. Bolt stated that on the night of the murder, she and Poston planned to meet at a Milford, Ohio bar for drinks at 9:30, and that she had been looking forward to it, but that Poston had failed to show up. Hubers' former cellmate, Cecily Miller, also testified where she said that Hubers bragged about killing her boyfriend, saying that she laughed about shooting Poston in the face and giving him the nose job that he always wanted. Miller also said that Hubers discussed legal strategy with her, saying that she was going to plead insanity, but she was too smart because she has the IQ of Einstein. So we got a good narcissist on our hands here. So she was going to plead battered wife syndrome. A lot of names pop into my mind there too. Hubers did not take the stand in her own defense, but relied on her police interrogation tape in which she maintained the killing was in self-defense. Now remember, this is trial number 1. So the verdict came in on April 23rd, 2015. After 5 hours of jury deliberation, Hubers was found guilty of Poston's murder. Following the verdict, the jury recommended a 40-year prison sentence. Hubers' attorneys argued for a new trial, stating that they were not allowed to present evidence and witnesses that would have shown Hubers killed Poston in self-defense. Her attorneys also asked the judge to recognize Hubers as a victim of domestic violence, which would reduce the amount of time that she would be required to serve before becoming eligible for parole. Under state law, Hubers would be required to serve 75% or 34 years of her term before becoming eligible for parole, but her attorney's motion would require her to only serve 20% of her sentence before she could be released. 4 months after becoming convicted, Hubers was sentenced to 40 years in prison with parole eligibility after 20 years as per the jury's recommendation. The presiding judge also declared that he did not believe that Hubers was a victim of domestic violence and that he had considered a sentence greater than 40 years. So let's get into the appeal. Following her sentencing, Hubers moved for a new trial. It was granted on August 27th of 2016, overturning her conviction on the basis that one of her jurors concealed a felony conviction. Kentucky law prohibits convicted felons from serving on juries. Hubers' new trial was set to begin on September 18th of 2017, but was delayed for 4 months to January 16th, 2018. Hubers' new out-of-state attorney asked for and was granted a 6-month delay to allow him to prepare for the retrial. Hubers' second trial began on August 8th of 2018. At Hubers' second trial, she gave lurid details of her sexual relationship with Poston. The defense built its case around the assertion that Poston was an abusive boyfriend. After 5 hours of deliberation, a jury again found Hubers guilty of murder. She was sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole. Hubers will have to serve 17 years before she can be considered for parole in 2032. That is not far away. She is incarcerated at Kentucky Correctional Institute for Women in Pewee Valley, Kentucky. In the media, Poston's murder had been featured on several television programs, including ABC's 2020, CBS's 48 Hours, Oxygen Snapped, and It Takes a Killer. The case was also covered by the podcast Small Town Murder in an episode titled Never Sing Your Confession. I think I've seen almost all of the media coverage in this trial, and what I want to say, what I saw her on was Taking the Stand. But let's go ahead and play some clips of her taking the stand.
Accused of killing her on and off again boyfriend in 2012 is back on the stand today in northern Kentucky. This is the second week of Shayna Hubers' retrial. Taking the stand in her own defense, Hubers claims Ryan Poston assaulted her and she felt the need to defend herself. A Cincinnati television station reports Hubers also told the jury about their first date and her feelings toward him.
Feared him. I felt like I needed to do what he was telling me to do.
Yesterday, Hubers' attorneys argued for a mistrial because one of the experts' testimony referred to her first trial, which is not allowed. However, the judge denied the motion and allowed the retrial to continue. Hubers' conviction in her first trial was thrown out when it came to light that a juror had a felony conviction.
To get to the verdict now, and I will exit the screen so you guys can see that.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder.
Guilty. The woman who shot her boyfriend because he was about to ditch her for a Miss USA contestant sobs as she is convicted of murder. And there were audible gasps in court as the jury decided Shayna Huber's sentence today.
We, the jury, fixed the defendant, Shayna Huber's punishment for the offense of murder at life imprisonment.
As the judge polled the jury,
Is this your verdict?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Huber's turned to make eye contact with her family. Shayna Huber shot her 29-year-old boyfriend Ryan Poston 6 times. Prosecutors said she was in a jealous rage because he was pursuing a relationship with Miss Ohio, who testified for the prosecution.
How did he strike you?
Funny and smart.
Ohio! Audrey Bolte was second runner-up in the 2012 Miss USA pageant. She testified that she met Ryan Poston on Facebook and he asked her out. She was waiting to meet Poston for a late-night drink when he was shot by Hubers, who found their Facebook messages setting up the date. Hubers drove over to Poston's apartment outside Cincinnati where she confronted him. She claimed she shot him in self-defense.
I grabbed the gun and I shot him.
So that is all I have for this one, guys. She has the possibility of parole. That will happen a lot sooner than we think. 2032. That's a scary thought. She's I don't think she would, I don't really think she would ever get released, at least not the first time around, but you never know. You never truly know. So that's all for this one. If you like this content, make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.